You love to see it. Bioware is getting restructured, or gutted more like, as now they're all down to one core team who's only working on Mass Effect. This of course comes hot on the heels of Dragon Age the Veilguard, who is probably the presumed guilty butcher of the once mighty studio of Bioware, who once had so many things to do, so many irons in the fire, so many cool IPs and ideas, but after years and years of woke nonsense and further progressive rearrangements of their preferred franchises, like Andromeda, like Veilguard, and so on, is down to one last final lifeline: Mass Effect. That is all that remains of the once mighty Bioware, as they say in an announcement that they've shifted over all of the staff they can to other positions within Electronic Arts, and has thus, presumably, simply fired anyone that they couldn't dump off onto other studios, or whose contracts were too expensive to buy out initially. Now, they put a very positive spin on it, of course, saying like, oh, you know, we don't need everybody to work on Mass Effect, so we're just gonna get rid of some people. Really? You needed all of them for Dragon Age the Veilguard, but you don't need everybody for the next Mass Effect game? Really now? Yeah, I don't know if I buy that one. I think, in fact, this makes the recent departure of one of their lead game directors, totally not over the Veilguard, of course, even more suspicious. Now, they're obviously cleaning house as hard as they can right now, and I like the idea also of moving people over within EA. That gives me the distinct impression of a company going, oh god, okay, we can't fire these people because our reason would be destroyed our game with a rainbow flag, and that won't really fly in court probably more often than not, so how do we get rid of them? Well, the age-old tradition of kicking them to the side. No, you're still a valued member of the team, just over there, please. As they've even mentioned earlier, that Mass Effect 5 would be a far more realistic game, apparently. And I also want to point out, if they truly don't need the entire team now, then Mass Effect must be in the very early stage of development, right? But surely they must have been working on Mass Effect for a while? Right? They couldn't just have been working on Dragon Age Veilguard alone, and if they're only starting work on Mass Effect now, really? No pre-planning? No work on that at all? That doesn't sound logical or reasonable. I would rather posit that they were quite a bit into the development of Mass Effect, but they were waiting to see how Veilguard would work out, to test the waters for progressive reasons. And after having that game fail, again for progressive reasons, they probably had yet another look at Mass Effect and going, okay, we can no longer afford to continuously repeat the exact same mistake in the hope that an illusionary, wider audience will come rescue us. It's time to return to giving the gamers what they actually want. Every character from now on is gonna be Miranda Lawson and Jack with hair. And hey, you know what? I'm all for it. I hope Bioware has learned its lesson because they have created some great games. If they could get back to making great games, I would actually be rather happy. Not entirely sure I'm optimistic for that, particularly after, again, Andromeda, which wasn't merely just a bad game, but a poorly crafted and made game, even on a base technical level. Dragon Age the Veilguard at least ran, so that was something. It was poorly crafted on so many other levels, not to mention Inquisition too. Like, it has just been loss after loss after loss for Bioware. And I want to point out too, this is now another company, much like Ubisoft, who is desperately holding on to like one last little lifeline, like, oh god, this needs to do well. All of these companies have taken so long to see the light glaring down at them that they are stuck with only the pinky finger left. They've got one tiny ass hope and they'd better make it count. And of all the times to pick, it's 2025, the year where China is beginning to ramp up its own investment in video games. See, The Chinese can make video games faster than the West, they can make them better than the West, and they can certainly make them a hell of a lot more appealing than the West. And this is the position that Bioware finds itself in, where it has to have a huge smash hit, the likes of which can not only pay off the studio's probably mounting debt at this point, but pay for the development of their next game as well. And what is this smash hit they need? The 5th Mass Effect game? Good luck with that one. Now, I'm not saying that, further sequels are necessarily going to be awful. I think Call of Duty has dispelled that myth, but, really? I think the expectations are going to be rather large, considering the rose-tinted glasses that people are going to view Mass Effect 1 and 2 by now, and 3 as well. Hell, some people even like Andromeda now, which is just weird to me. But they're going to need to hit this one out of the park, and they're going to do it with a smaller, stripped-down team, which actually I think might be a good thing. See, I've often talked about the benefits of smaller teams, of limited resources, of needing to problem solve, because it leads to several benefits. One is that if you know you only have so many people and only so much time, you've got to budget everything far more carefully. No mad plans, no crazy ideas, no overzealous 5-year development scope. You're like, okay, if I would like to keep the lights on, I need to produce something good within 3 years. What does this mean? Focus in on the core elements. Good RPG elements, attractive characters, and good combat. There you are. Mass Effect 2, basically. Just do that, but again, and you might actually be doing fairly well, depending on how much goodwill you've burned away, as we are now in an era where very much so bad PR can kill even a good game. Indiana Jones, the recent one, was apparently quite a good game, and people who played it later and even at the time were like, yeah, no, this is actually good. It's basically a puzzle game, but it's actually good. It still flopped because it had the merest hint of wokeism. And that is a situation that these companies themselves have created. BioWare's only hope is to not only make a good game, but to make it quickly, to market it correctly, and by that I mean stridently anti-woke, the full-on Molyneux strategy of throwing everything you've made the last decade so far under the bus, even dev can't retrieve it. And you're also going to need to do so with limited resources. Again, hopefully the challenge will actually lead to something greater, to that remaining core team rising to the challenge and becoming better for it. That is what I genuinely would like to see. I, again, don't know if I believe that, because what is the core at BioWare anymore? Is it any less rotten than the rest of the trunk? I'll believe it when I see it. But for now, at least, I am just happy to see the corpse of yet another big mainstream game studio having ran itself into the ground with year after year after year of shitty output, having been told again and again this is not what interests your audience, having been given every opportunity to rectify their errors, and still snarling in the face of their fanbase. Oh, we don't need to listen to you. You don't know what you want, you silly gamer scum, you. And then finally being placed in a position where a tiny, mangled handful of them must crawl on their hands and knees back to their customers and beg them, please, please, another chance, sir. Call me a sadist if you must, but it is a rather appealing prospect, is it not? There is also, another potential idea is that they could go for a much smaller Mass Effect game, perhaps? Some small spin-off to tease a larger one and to earn back a little bit of good faith and a little bit of cash. It's not a bad idea, honestly. Releasing a much smaller product almost as a sort of pseudo kind of demo, just like, 2 or 3 hours worth of gameplay, setting up a new storyline loop, and then going, okay, you're gonna get more in a year's time, here's the game, throw in some hot characters, would you like to pre-order? Something a bit out of the ordinary, something more engaging and in your face, rather than relying on a marketing department that so far has pissed in their cereal at every given opportunity. I doubt they'll be quite that intelligent, but we shall see, we shall see. Until next time, I've been Arch. Thank you all very much for watching, and I do hope to see you all again soon. Till then, have a good day.